Okay, three, two, one, go. Hello, Yurloo. How are you? How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Okay. First question: what got you into playing BYM? And feel free to load in any of your mechs. Show us around as you're talking. Just do a little jig.
Oh, I'm gonna have to really think about this one.
Like, did you
I
play
think
BYC?
I think this was around the time. This is gonna be a really weird story, but this was around the time when I was really young and I had like my own gaming console. And my mom bought me Call of Duty Advanced Warfare.
Okay.
It's the ones where you have like the exoskeletons, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
I would know.
started looking for Roblox games where you can just like have an exoskeleton because I was just obsessed with like the whole exoskeleton thing. I thought it was really cool. And eventually I stumbled on robots and mechs, and that's how I eventually discovered BYC
Okay,
or
awesome. And then
BYM. I don't know
when
which one it
BYC
was.
went down, you went to BYM, or you just, you know, decided to go to BYM?
I think I one day just decided to go to BYM because I heard it was the better place to go. And that's how I eventually ended up in BYM. I think I don't think I have one of my first builds, but I do have my first mech still. See if I can pull that up.
Oh yeah, load that up. And then while you're loading that, how old were you when you started, and how old were you when it went down?
Oh my god. Uh, I must have been around 13, 14 when I first got into BYM.
Well, this
And
must have
then when it
been what
went,
year?
this must have been 2014 or 2015.
Okay, okay.
Not entirely sure. And then when it went down, I was 16. I remember this specifically because when I was 16, that's when I went to college. That's around when BYM went down.
Okay. Are you loading your old mech here?
I'm looking for it. The the order is completely screwed up.
Yeah,
There
a
it
lot of
is.
the mechs are gone. Personally, I think a lot of other people are losing theirs. But
My
let's hope we
saves
can
are
find it.
all intact. I don't know how. All of my saves are intact. They're just randomized.
Oh, is this the first one?
This is the first one. This is
This is pretty
Phobos.
good for a first one. Like,
I
actually
think I
really good.
started doing mechs only later into the actual game. First, I was doing vehicles like helicopters and I think Formula One cars. I remember that specifically. And then eventually, I got inspired by someone. I forgot whose name it was. Oh my god! But they helped me kind of get started. Kind of gave me a basis for like what to do when building a mech. Kind of helped me out building the torso because that's kind of where I got stuck.
Yeah, I
What's this?
think most people actually had like it's a weird thing to say, but they had like a mentor. Was that
Yeah,
just me, or did everyone have that?
everyone had like a mentor. I'm pretty sure everyone had like some person that they looked up to that allowed them to do it.
Right. I remember mine. Mine was Danny028. He got banned, forget why. Loved him.
Huh.
But we don't know yours.
I think I had a mentor named Zepsilla. That's the guy who helped me with my thumbnails.
Oh, does this one have a thumbnail?
Um, this is I'm looking at the Yatagarasu thumbnail, which that one has his name on it. I don't remember where the Phobos thumbnails though. This was before I made my own thumbnails.
Oh, I'm excited. Okay, okay. So next question. So you do know you're one of the more popular people in the community, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a concrete reason why this started, or you think you just got, you know, more experience in BYM?
I think it was more of just like that I stuck to a theme and that made it recognizable, like the whole red, black, and white thing.
Yeah, oh,
This
yeah,
always
yeah. So
happens in like other media as well. You know how in other media, there's always like even if like you have someone who's not as talented as the rest of the group, still stands out because they have a certain personality to how they do their things.
did you like think about this going in like, oh, I gotta make all my mechs this color? People will know.
Oh no, absolutely not. I am not going to even pretend that I was that
Oh,
smart. I just decided, okay, I like this red, black, and white theme. I'm just going to keep doing that, and
Okay,
that's how that happened.
but then it went to red and white. It used to be red and
Yeah,
black
red and
or red
white.
and white.
Red and white was always the colors for like the little guy, like the little avatar.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it was always white on the one side, red on the other. That was more for the character itself. Red, black, and white together, those three colors, were mostly for mechs.
Oh, but you did make. I remember you made one red and white mech.
There is one who's red and white. Yeah. Let me see if I can find that
I
actually. I
think it was in one of Lush's videos. Maybe.
think it was. Yeah. It had a Q in the name. That's what I remember. Hold on.
So while you're
What
finding
rose
that,
line?
how did you feel about being Queen Bee? Hashtag popular. Hashtag awesome.
I kind of hate looking back on it because looking back at how I behaved back in the day, I realized it gave me a huge ego that made me insufferable.
Ooh.
I was this like teenage kid just like suddenly had a lot of power on his hands. It's like this is just a recipe for disaster.
So you were living in it. Did you like tell new players like, "Oh, get away"? Or like, were you like that?
I wasn't. I think I wasn't like that. I was just kind of arrogant. Like it gave me a bit of an
Yeah.
ego, but I wasn't specifically pushing people away.
And then adding on to that, people are still recreating like your thumbnail mechs in like B&D, EE. I remember though you actually let someone do that. Is there like a reason, or you just don't care?
I think um, when you someone is inspired by something, what reason do I have to take that away from them? You know,
Right? Yeah.
if someone is just like, okay, I like this thing, why should I tell them, okay, you can't do that because I paid that? I like it when something I used to do with other people, taking inspiration from others, when people do that with me, it's like, oh wow, like times are changing moment. Like that's just wild to me. And I find it a really interesting feeling.
Yeah.
I think the most interesting part is how people could take something that I did, but twist their own idea into it, and I really like seeing that.
Yeah.
Like
Okay,
putting their own little
Mr.
spin on how I my style.
Mr. Lord, do you have any questions from the cool audience here?
Yes, we have two questions from the audience. Okay, one's from Fate, and it reads, at what point did you decide to commit yourself to BYM and building in general? Yeah. Wait, was that already asked? Or,
No, I don't think so.
all
I
right,
think I
yeah.
just kind of got addicted.
Oh,
BYM, when you really get into it, is an extremely addicting game. It's really hard to let go of it.
that's really
So
true.
I actually uh, missed classes and I sometimes skipped school
My
just
God.
to play BYM just because I thought it was so much fun to do.
What? Really? Holy
I
shit.
don't recommend anyone do this. This is solely because I got hopelessly addicted to the game.
I'm gonna skip class, bro.
Oh my God.
Skipping class from BYM, I was on some wild stuff. I did get friends into the game though. I do remember that.
Do you have any like specific friends you know?
There's an IRL friend of mine named Dave that I kind of got into the game for a while. We're still really good friends, and I still visit him every now and then. But I specifically remember him. He had the username of Supersonic Sparky. Really, just amazing guy. He used to build these ships from this game called Elite Dangerous. I think a lot of you who've seen me play this game are familiar with some of these ships.
Oh
And
yeah,
he
that's
really enjoyed doing
interesting.
that.
I think a lot of people actually came from Elite Dangerous. When did that game come out? Do you know?
Elite Dangerous, I'm pretty sure, dropped in 2016, 2014.
Okay,
Around
so
that
around the
time.
same time.
Around the same time, yeah. For context, to those who don't know, Elite Dangerous is a space exploration game where you have all these really just different spaceships and different play styles that allow you to do different things. It's a really interesting game.
Do you still play it now?
Oh, absolutely. I have a whole flight setup for it, actually.
Oh, so
Like
you
I
can
gotta,
customize.
yeah. The game is designed for you to have like custom IRL like controllers. It's called a HOTAS setup, where you have basically a plain throttle and a plain joystick on your desktop. You play it like that. It's a really immersive and interesting game.
That's actually really neat. Okay.
It's pretty.
Do
We
we
got
have
another.
another? Yeah.
Yes. Have another question by Pakko. Let's see. Paco asked whether the question of where, when, and how did you find out about BYN, if it has been asked,
I think
or
we
if it
did
has
go
not.
over that, but if you want
I
to
think
add,
we did.
yeah.
Yeah, we went over that. That was
Alright.
me through like the exoskeletons from Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. I
Nice.
was interested in those and tried to find Roblox games doing anything with that, and then I eventually stumbled on BYM somehow.
All right. I have another question. So, do you have the Yatagarasu or its name? Do you have that mech? Because I think that's probably your most
Absolutely.
influential mech.
I was trying to use it earlier today again. It was definitely my most influential mech. It definitely was the most combat effective somehow. I don't know specifically what caused it to be that way. It's a really just effective mech, but like a pretty unique fighting style for PYM.
No, I
So
mean
what's
even now
notable?
it's very impressive. It's just very cool looking.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm still really proud of it. I actually use it for inspiration for some of my personal characters that I sometimes design. Just like the general design of it, you can see that being reflected in characters I draw now.
Yeah, because you
But
are an artist now.
yeah, I mostly do indeed 2D art, but I want to branch out into 3D art again.
Did you do Blender for amount of time or?
For college, actually, I had to use Maya instead of Blender,
Hmm.
which that was fun for a while, and that taught me a lot of basics for 3D modeling. And now I've stepped over to Blender because I don't want to pay $3,000 a year for Maya.
I see.
It's really expensive. I
And
love
then
Blender.
you know what? Adding on to that, so in text earlier, I was talking to you, and you actually said your life improved once BYM went down. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh yes, so you know how I basically had an addiction to BYM for the longest time,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Yeah, that immediately went away, and I stopped playing building games as soon as BYM pretty much went down. I had all the time in the world now to do actual like important things. So all of that went to college.
Were you not like upset when it went down? I mean, clearly, probably you were.
I was upset, but going to be completely honest. We all saw it coming eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roblox was going to kill this game eventually because of the whole purge, but the filtering enabled. That's what I thought it was called.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, all games have to be forced to be filtering enabled, and BYM wasn't part of the classic games that didn't have to be. That was a big bummer.
So I didn't actually know about that when BYM went down. I was only probably like 11 or 12, and it
Hmm.
just went down suddenly. I was like, oh my god, no way. So I
Yeah,
guess that you actually knew it was going to go down, but a lot of people didn't, I don't think.
yeah. The problem was Roblox had a whole issue with older games. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but at the time, there was a big problem with hacking and just exploiting. And what filtering enable was partly supposed to do was um, get rid of this cheating problem, or at least reduce it by a lot. Which I don't think that really happened. I don't think it really improved much. But there were a whole bunch of games that indeed got purged in this whole filtering enabled update, with the exception for a few older classic games that were like historic pieces.
Yeah, yeah.
And because we all saw this update coming, we knew BYM wouldn't be compatible with this update, which is what we see happening now. The game is largely broken.
Right. And then, okay, tell me about this like cute little logo here. The Lug Industries. Did you stick with this for a while?
I think I drew that up in Clip Studio in like 5 minutes because I just needed a logo. I just decided to come up with something.
I'm gonna actually
So I
try
just
and
took the visor and just put that on the logo.
let me stretch this out. Let me see what this looks like. Okay, we got the two power symbols,
Two
and
power symbols, and just the industries and the logo.
oh, is that supposed to be the helmet,
Yeah, that's the
the
visor.
visor? Yeah.
It's not entirely accurate to the actual mech, but it's
No,
supposed to be like a mech visor.
not really, but I see the idea here. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think it did actually. Something like that inspired me to make a logo of myself too. I don't know where it is, it's really bad, but I think everyone kind of did that for some reason. And anyway,
Yeah,
okay.
everyone had like their little like own little like industry or like company that like produced mechs. It was really just funny to me.
I do like that actually. It was a really neat idea. And then, okay, Lord, do we have another question?
Yes, we have a question from Fate Fried referring to BYM News. So he asked, let me read. What did you do to that lady on BYM News, and what happened on Wednesdays?
I signed an NDA. I cannot talk about that. I am very sorry.
Oh god.
You know what? Let's see. We can actually have another person talk for a second. Is anyone in the chat wanting to talk here? Oh my god.
Oh,
Okay, Fate,
Oh
you
my-
already asked a question. I'm gonna let Dragon speak for a little bit. He's been in the chat.
see.
Good day, lads.
Okay, I'm gonna turn you down. Hold on. Okay.
Christ almighty, sorry. Okay,
Okay.
Joel, I have a question for you.
Mhm.
Do you still have your role-playing zoo exhibit build from 2018?
Oh my gosh, I think I saw that actually pop up somewhere in the save. We had this like weird like roleplay thing that was going on.
God, I remember it.
Oh my god, what was it? Is this it? Hold on. Yeah, this
Yeah, oh,
Oh
there
my
it is.
gosh.
I'm.
Let me open this up.
Oh my god, yes. Oh,
What's
the
going on
memories.
I
here?
forgot what it was about, but
The memories are flooding back. Oh
memories of
lord.
Oh my
playing that.
god,
I
what?
opened up the top of it. It was this whole like weird
And what-
environment that was
Yeah, we used to like roleplay inside of this. It was fucking
Like
weird.
actual
it was
roleplay?
you know, actual. Or
Yeah,
it was just like
actual
weird
roleplay.
like joke roleplay. It was just like okay, this weird species called Jurl. Just like
What was the story here?
it's just I don't think it was a whole story. It was just like okay, let's make a habitat for Jurl because he's funny.
See, the one thing I remember about it, Joe, was you trying to seduce me and trying to mate with me. That was
Oh.
that was when it peaked. I think that was the peak.
Okay, on that topic, this might be a
No.
sensitive question, but when I was in the BYM Discord, someone sent me a GIF of presumably you. Stop me if you don't know what you're talking about or don't know what I'm talking about. Do you know what I mean by that?
The gift of me.
It was
doing
you
something?
in a green suit.
Oh, be the fucking blue suit. Oh
Yeah,
my god.
blue,
I
yeah.
still have that blue suit.
Is there a reason? Like, okay, I'm not probably gonna show this GIF, but what was
Let's
that?
not
Is there
show
lore
this
behind
gift,
it?
but
Is there lore
there was
behind
this
it?
the stupid gift was I was a big fanboy of iDubbbz at the time.
Oh my gosh.
iDubbbz and like Filthy Frank. This was like a big thing at the time. Anyone who's grown up around this like same day and age knows exactly what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Filthy Frank. Anyone like that's gonna ring a bell. He had these like people with these like full body colored suits. It was really stupid looking. That was the whole point of it. I decided, okay, it'd be really funny if I got one of those as well and just started doing really dumb stuff with that. And I kind of regret it.
No, because
Ignorance.
I still have that. I Danny
Yeah,
Utame gave it to
let's
me.
stop
like,
bring that up.
yeah, okay, let's not bring that up. I just, just wanted to know. Okay,
Quite peculiar.
let's see. Okay, now let's have Fate come in. Fate, you may ask away now. I'm going to put you in.
Shall I leave?
Yes. Go away.
Okay.
Yeah, get away.
Oh,
Bring up another mech while we're at it.
I want
Go
to see a
on.
Mac.
Go on,
Oh,
Fate.
wait,
Join.
hold on.
Here we go.
Here's another influential one.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I've seen pop up a few times as well.
It's Kronos, right?
It's this is Phobos one.
Oh, Phobos,
Yes,
right.
yes, again.
No.
Sorry.
Fate, do you have
Hello.
anything to say?
Hey, wait.
So I'm at school right now. Please leave me alone.
Okay.
Sorry. Wait. What happened on Wednesdays?
Oh,
What did you do?
I'm just stupid. I still make that joke sometimes. There was this whole we had this like lush news thing. It's like, oh, Joel's a woman on Wednesdays, which that was just a really dumb but funny joke. That's something I still do to this day sometimes.
All right, Fate, you're leaving. Bye. Okay, Fate's gone now.
Real
Do we have
a
any
really
other
dumb
questions?
joke that I cracked every now and then, where sometimes we'll just be playing a game like Item Asylum with friends, and then specifically on Wednesdays, I'll change the avatar to like a female one, and they'll like question it for like a second. It's like, oh, it's Wednesday. And
Okay,
like,
we
oh,
actually have a
alright.
really good question here by Hyvik. He says, Yurl, do you have any basic or decent advice when it comes to the art industry, whether it's for company work, freelancing, building up a worthy portfolio, etc., and anything that is needed to be expected?
Had you asked this question about 2 years ago, I would have been able to answer that. Because of the rise of AI,
Hmm.
I'm gonna have a bit of trouble answering that question.
So let's start 2 years ago. What would you say?
I would say that where do you even start? First thing I'm gonna say, you don't need an art study or go to a college for art. It's completely pointless. Anything they teach you there, you could just learn on YouTube. And this is specifically talking about like giving advice for like freelancing, as you're talking about. Anything that you are asking me, you can find on YouTube.
And then what about now?
Simply Googling. What about now? Because of AI, it's becoming very difficult to market yourself as a 2D artist, even 3D artist, depending on what you're doing.
Have you had any
Um,
experience like with this happening?
yes, very much. Specifically, unpleasant experiences with people basically telling me to my face that I'm not going to have a job in AI,
Hmm.
specifically, or an art job and a job in art, excuse me, because of AI. Um, I will say I do think that is complete cope and bogus. Reason of that is that AI is likely going to be its own thing.
Right.
AI is really good for mass producing specific already known content, but it's going to struggle when you're asking to do something new, which is that is where an actual artist comes in.
And I feel like it's very like a niche thing. Like most AI, it's
It's a
like,
niche, yeah.
like that 3D looking anime-esque, you know?
Yeah. I want to specifically quote an Incredibles movie where the villain says, "If everyone is super, no one is super,"
Mm.
and I feel like that's very much a thing that's going to happen with AI. It's like if everyone can just produce this kind of content, then what stops it from being special?
That's actually really interesting. I didn't think of it that way. That's interesting to note.
Yeah,
Okay,
AI is just a difficult topic because it's this whole just it's a complicated topic. It's no one knows where it's going to go and where it's going to be in a few years.
Oh, here we go. Okay, Hyvik wants to join the speak. Let me let him speak.
Oh yeah, sure.
Can I expand on this
Yeah.
a bit?
Yes.
Thank you. So at the moment, you may or may not know, I don't know, I am taking a course for university for concept art.
Mhm.
And as you said, those things are probably not needed, maybe not like at all.
Mhm.
I maybe kind of beg to differ in a way. I don't know, it depends.
It depends on
Because,
what you're going to do. I would definitely agree there. Yeah, but for what I mostly wanted to do, like video game art, for example,
yeah,
um,
that's
it's a
pretty
wide
much,
topic, so you're not going to need it for that. It's nice to have it for a kickstart. Exactly. It's nice to have it for like knowing where to go. But once you're established, you realize that you could have just watched a few YouTube channels like playlists and gone at the same place. But that's
yeah,
usually more difficult to do than just sitting in a class and someone directly telling you how to do something.
that is true. But, but yeah, when you say that you can learn everything on YouTube, yeah, that is true because I did that during A level, well, or during secondary school before I went to uni. They taught fine art, not all the stuff I was interested in. So I self-taught to myself. But when it comes to uni, they are a lot more direct and specific on very recent changes of art. So
Yeah.
they will get you ready in terms of when you enter the industry, regardless of what it is. So
Yeah.
they will keep you up to date with newer software that the industry does use, such as Maya or Photoshop. And I know Maya is like unbelievably expensive, but they make you use it, and they make you get used to something that you will use.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I do. I definitely do agree there. I have not gone to university myself. It's just more that the concern that I had is that once you leave university, once you're kind of done with it, you kind of go on your own, and you kind of still have to adapt to new technologies recently coming out, for example.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, if it was 2 years ago, I probably would have got a better answer when AI was such a big thing.
Yes.
Apart from that, it's probably just like a matter of getting my work up, doing more of it, and like making sure I have a large collection of it.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a question, for the two of you. So did playing BYM or all these building games like directly influence what you went into as a major or what you decided to do with your life?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If it wasn't for BOM, I wouldn't have done anything creatively, I think.
Kinda. I mean, I barely played BYM. I've only played like 50 hours of it or something because I joined in really late. Mostly played B&D and EE, but in terms of those games, like the building games, oh yeah, absolutely. It's like the perfect like sandbox playground to get your ideas straight from your head onto a model, whether it works or not. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is an influence to what I am doing now, but I wouldn't say it was 100% of my influence. I've got
Yeah.
plenty of other things I've been influenced by.
Hold
I
on, we
think
have
what I
another
like
person.
specifically. Oh, my bad.
Hi, sorry, I just want to add on to that because this is sort of relating to EE in that sense. Because you talk about how without BOM you wouldn't have done anything creatively, which is perfectly valid. But I think in regards to like EE, for example, and the newer games that are coming out, I feel like specifically for EE, once a tutorial comes out, I feel like EE could probably be used for newer generations of players to get into different fields like computer science or mathematics. It's much more logic based than BOM, if that makes sense. Do you see that as a good thing, or do you think BOM sort of has the edge over it because it's more simple
I think
and is purely creative?
I think it's kind of stupid to compare the two games. It's like, okay, one is better than the other. I
Yeah,
feel like
fair
the
enough.
two games challenge different things. What I really like about EE, and Swifty has done an amazing job on this, is specifically the whole indie logic aspect. It really challenges someone to try to achieve something fun with something really complicated. Like you have a complicated problem that you're trying to solve, but that thing you're trying to achieve is really fun to work on. And that is a really good stepping stone for someone trying to get into like programming or computer science, as you said. That's what BYM. I think someone is more creatively challenged to achieve goals, like visually creative.
Yeah, because
More
I
technological.
specifically I see the community comparing E and BOM and BND a lot, and a lot of the
Yeah.
time it just feels kind of pointless because, like you say, the cores of these games are very different. The welding
so
systems,
very,
the logic, all
each game
that.
uses a very different mindset when being developed.
Yeah,
What I really like about BYM is how you're solving different kinds of problems with creative working. Like how am I going to weld this complicated shape, for example?
Mhm.
I really think that challenges someone to think creatively about a certain creative problem, because these are
Yeah.
similar issues you're going to encounter in different creative mediums. And
So okay, I think that sort of ties into BOM is more focused on the creative aspect, like you say, welding and such. Whereas in E, that obviously isn't an issue because the welding system
Yeah.
is much more simple. So the problems necessarily come from the logic and the maths of it.
Yeah.
Which
If
is more
anything,
logic based.
he might honestly be better than even Blender when trying to quickly create a really pretty looking model. But in BYM, it really just becomes a just a puzzle solving act, which I think
Yeah.
that is much more mentally engaging and prepares them like a developing mind for sustainable challenges.
So
Yeah,
I have
100%.
one more question for the people who do play EE. Jurloo, I don't think you do in that much capacity, but you can still comment on this. So I've
Mhm.
noticed that in BYM, pretty much everyone made their own designs for their mech, while in EE, most people
Oh, I
kind
see
of
where this
just
is going.
take pre-existing designs and make them in EE. Like I have barely seen maybe 3 or 4 mechs that are actually original, and the rest are just taken from media. Uh,
Oh, I certainly agree with that. I've very much observed a similar thing. Yeah.
do you know if there's a reason for this, or it's just like what you said? BYM is more creative inclined, while EE is more logic.
I think it definitely has to do with that. I think EE definitely attracts a more just like technological thinking audience.
Can I just ask, are you referring to the designs of the mechs, the frames, or both?
Oh, in general, I don't mean frames. I mean mainly, you
There's a
will
lot of
see
like
recreations of
Gundam, for
mechs rather than
example.
their own.
There's a
Yeah,
lot of
that's fair enough.
Gundam.
Yeah, I feel like in EE, I feel like the I feel like what the outcome has been is because the community has migrated through essentially 3 games at this point. I feel like because EE, the building tools are much easier to use. It's much more. I guess it's sort of it's very stimulating to look back at these old builds and recreate them with a much more simple building system, and then just expand on them in the logic aspect. I feel like eventually, once people run out of things to replicate, or people replicate the same thing too many times, there will probably be an influx of newer mechs. But I think it does have something to do with the game inherently being less challenging on the mind in regards to building. Obviously, the math side of it can be incredibly challenging in its own right, but
Incredibly, yeah.
it's a very different challenge on the mind as opposed to the puzzle solving aspect of BYM
Oh,
and BND.
yeah, I fully agree with that.
Could I have an input on this?
Yes.
So, I mean, in terms of EE, like when it comes to like maybe a few different designs, the fact that it's so easy for one person to give a build to another person and that person give a build to another person and so on and so forth becomes quite recycled in a way. So,
Yeah.
same thing with the advanced starter mech or the Romeo frames. I mean, I'm not a mech expert, but I hear it everywhere. It's what literally everyone has. And they build whatever they want on top, but it's nothing special. It's nothing different from others. I think it's more of like kind of like globalization in a way. Like the way of getting things is a lot easier now than it was beforehand. Beforehand back in BOM or B&D, something like that. If you wanted to make something, go make it yourself. Nobody's giving you it.
Mm-hmm. I feel like when I've been playing EE, I feel like I've gone out of my way to actively avoid using frames or getting frames because I inherently dislike the concept. It doesn't work for me. I understand it can work for newer players who don't understand the logic side of it, but I feel like they are inherently restricting in your creativity, which is why I don't use them, and it's why I make new logic for every mech.
That sounds fair. Yeah. Personally, I do like to use frames because that is not a problem I personally am prepared to solve.
Mm-hmm.
I am there to, as I said, build the mech that I want to design.
Yeah.
And I like that EE just makes that really, really easy and fun to do. But I just cannot, I personally just don't have the time to learn all the logic.
Yeah, I feel like
That's-
it comes down to whether you're using the frame as support or if you're using it as a crutch. If you don't have the knowledge or don't have the time to learn the knowledge to make your own logic and such, using a frame is perfectly understandable. But if you are within your own talent and skill to make your own logic and to advance your mech and make it truly your own, I feel like if you're choosing to use a frame, you're more so doing it as a crutch as opposed to putting effort in. That's just from my experience, at least, from the people
Yeah.
that I've interacted with, like OMQ and such.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So let's stop that conversation here. There's one more thing I want to get into. I remember you made a game or you worked on a game called Vibrant Venture. Can you tell me more about that?
Right. Vibe Adventure is interesting to me because it kind of put us in a whole unique scenario. The game started on Roblox. I followed this creator, Patrick Blocks, for a while. That was his name at the time. And he had these other platformer games that were just really just absolute quality over quantity. Um, there was this game he made called Super Roblox 64, and that got me into his projects. And then eventually I stumbled on a secondary game, which that was called Project Autumn at the time. It was this whole just 2D Roblox game set in this whole autumn theme. It was really just really pretty, and not anything like it existed before on Roblox. And it was really interesting at the time because Patrick, that's the guy who works on those games, worked with an artist at the time, but that artist, for some whatever reason, disappeared, and we have not heard from that artist since.
Oh,
He's completely disappeared off the face of the planet. We
okay.
have no idea where he is.
He's dead.
But he needed an artist at the time, and I just at the time happened to make a really just high effort fan art for him, which he later used that as a promo artwork.
Can you send me that promo artwork?
Oh, that promo artwork. I think
Well,
I
later
can,
on, you know, just
yeah, I can send you that later on.
Is it one of those thumbnails for Vibe Adventure that I saw?
Yeah, one of the old thumbnails. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's one of the really, really old ones. He later approached me because of that and said, "Hey, do you want to work with me as like on the game? Because I need an artist." And he said, "Like, I need an artist briefly for like when the other artist returns." It's like, "Yeah, sure." That artist never returned. I just decided to stick around. So this was at the same time when I was going to college for game development, and I was learning Unity at the time. And I said, "Hey, Pat, I'm learning Unity. This is really awesome. Maybe we can experiment with this." And then the day later, he approached me all excited and says, "I've been waiting to step over to Unity for years now, but that other artist has not had the time to do so."
Oh. And when was this?
This was back in when I was 16. I remember this. I started helping with development of the game around 16.
So this is right when BYM went down.
This was right around when BYM went down, a few months after BYM went down.
I think that might be why you weren't as upset as some people might have thought, because obviously you probably had your hands full with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, from there on, I kind of immediately had my hands full. But that whole project, Pad telling me to like join him on Unity, that pretty much changed my life course. I had different plans. I didn't expect to go where they are now. I was expecting to go like, okay, I'm going to go in a little local studio, but no, we are going to start our own studio.
Damn.
So eventually, when we moved to Unity, we were been working on the game for a while. So a few years later, like a year or so later, this was around 2020, right before COVID, we opened up the Kickstarter. And that blew up, which I kind of hate to say this now, but Koneko Kitten at the time was the one who basically funded our entire Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what happened recently. Mm-hmm. So I kind of don't like talking about that, but he funded most of our entire project. He dumped in about $6,000, I think. Yeah, about 6,000. That happened while I was in class. So I was freaking out in class when this happened. And all the teacher who was giving me English at the time decided to start clapping. Everyone just starts clapping. It was just like this big thing because no other student at the time had managed to like successfully fund a Kickstarter.
Oh, so they knew about it.
Yeah, I was informing, hey, this is happening. Like, maybe we're not going to hit it. Maybe we are going to hit it. We're not sure. And I was just sitting in class. Like, the day after we launched the Kickstarter, it was immediately funded.
Wow.
I was freaking out in class. And then things got a bit complicated from there. Because like the head of like the school, like the college, wanted to talk to me about it. It was like, hey, can we use your game as an advertisement? And I kind of nervously had to say no.
Ooh.
Because that would mean that they own part of the project, and I didn't want that.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah. And they were already threatening me with like, hey, you developed this using school software, so this project belongs to us. Meanwhile, I was not using any school software for this project. I was using Clip Studio, and they wanted us to use Photoshop. So they did not own anything.
So how did that end up?
That ended up basically fine. I just told them like, hey, I used this and this software, and I basically used metadata to prove it.
Right.
And they said, okay, well, you're fine then, do whatever. And then I kind of just a few years later, we are where we are now.
So we have a question from Pakko. Pakko asks, do you remember that one time where we worked on a Roblox game together with another BYM staff, which went downhill super fast? Lamau.
It's ringing a bell somewhere, but I barely remember.
How dare you?
Man, that's something devious. Spider-Man King.
It's ringing a bell, but I'm not sure.
Man, Pakko, I think you're imagining things. That didn't happen.
Pakko, wake up, Pakko. Wake up, Pakko. It's been 7 weeks since the accident. Your family and friends have been left to warn. Wake up, Pakko. Wake up. Wake
Okay,
up.
he says he
Wake
has a
up.
video, I'm sorry.
Wake up.
I was joking, I was joking. Okay.
I'm not delusional.
That sounds like something a schizophrenic person would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, as for Vibrant Adventure, that is going great still. We're still working on that, and we are actually nearing the end of development.
Oh, so
The
it's
end is in
still, it
sight.
hasn't finished yet?
It hasn't finished yet. We're still working on it.
Yeah, Beta 4 looks really cool.
It's going great. The game is currently available on Steam with a full level builder available and other interesting features. That level builder, interestingly enough, was probably the most painful thing to develop.
Ooh.
It was basically making Mario Maker on your own without like a huge studio like Nintendo.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So,
Most of it was programming work, but also had some interesting art puzzles to solve, like making all the blocks connect all the time, like making every single block combination possible.
So, to close this out, it's getting pretty long now. Are there any closing remarks you would like to say about BYM or the community? And also feel free to load another mech if you would like.
I would like to say, looking back at my old builds, they are way more shit than I remember them being, and it makes me appreciate how far I've come in B&D and EE so much more. Like, holy fuck. What is this? What is this? What is this? I hate it so much. I hate
Bring it here.
Okay.
It's
I
like
hate
the Star Wars thing, what are they called? Ones with 4 legs. I never watched
The
Star Wars.
AT-AT?
Hmm.
Anyway, Jurloo,
As
any
for,
comments?
As for BYM, I hope the game can be patched at least a little bit so we can preserve this nice piece of history. I don't expect the game to work fully like it did before, but it would be nice to see it back online at least. I hope Sharky really does the game justice.
Are there any words to the wider community here?
I have no idea what I would say.
Look at it.
I did not prepare a speech, I'm sorry.
No, that's all good. Well, just if there's anything you would like to end on, go ahead.
Mm,
Long live BYM.
long live BYM.
Long live BYM.
That'll do it.
This mech makes me suicidal.